Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Dex Lattimore. Today, we're going to give a look at what's going on in gold. So, I'm not sure how to share the next page. I'm going to figure all of that out as we go. But today, I just want to look at the gold price, see where we are, and what's been going on over the year. So, when we look at the price today, you're looking at $4,428 an ounce. So just about a week or so ago, it was at hovering around $4,000. So we've been seeing an increase over the last few days. Let's see, when we look at, let me see here. Last week, Wednesday of last week, gold was at 4,267. So it's increased over the last week about 3.7% over the last week. So that's about $160 increase over the last week that we've seen gold move. When we look at the last month, gold was pretty much hovering in that 4,000 range. It was going up. You had 4,000 and it went up a little bit and then it went down. We're looking at like over the last month. So if we look at July 13th, for example, gold was at $4,019. And throughout that week, it went up to about $4,070. By Thursday of that week, it was down 399, so 3,994. So we see that gold, over the past course of the month has been hovering around that 4,000 range. And the a lot of people have been saying that the gold price over this time has been finding a floor, right? So if you look just year to date, you look at January when gold was at its height, January 29th, I believe, it was at about $5,400. So it's been tanking ever since January 29th. So we had lower highs and lower lows throughout the several months from now up until the month of about June. And it's been hovering around the $4,000 range since about June. So last week, it kind of went on a nice little tear and went from the $4,000 range back up to the $4,400 range. So that's a good move upward, showing us that gold is moving. It's good to see you, Dr. Pruitt. Good to see you in the chat. But yeah, gold is moving pretty well. But the question is this a trend, a new trend going upward? Because over the last 6 months, we'll say, gold has been trending downward. Now, that's not to say that all of the news in gold is bad, though, because as we know, gold over the last 2 years really has taken off. So if we look at the 1 year time period, a year ago, about this time, gold was at $3,300. So August of 2025, gold was at 3,300, and then it went on that nice tear upward from 3,300 to 5,400. So that's about 1,000, about $1,300. What was it, from 33 to 54? About $2,000 of a move upward, and that would have been in a 6 month period. So then when we have those type of moves though, that kind of upward trend, then you often have a downward trend until you're able to find a floor for gold to be able to sustain itself. But when we look at the 5 year period, for example, 2021 gold was at $1,800, right? And we'll say 2022, it was hovering in the same area around 1,800. 2023, it started to make a move upward to about around the $2,000 range. And 2024 is when gold pretty much took off. So it went from $2,000, we'll say about $2,050 in December of January 23. By 2024, we looking at February, it's going up 2,100. It's going up May 2,300. So we're just having a nice upward trend of gold all from 2024. You look at, let's see here, January of 2025, gold is sitting at 2,600. So it's just a nice upward trend, and it's really what some would call a parabolic move upward, because it really took off from 2025 January. It was at 2,600, and then by January 2026, it was at about 5,400. So you see, that's a nice parabolic move upward. Of course, when you had the start of the war, it slowed the trend of gold, and a lot of people started selling their gold, right? So there were questions as to who's selling their gold and why are they selling their gold. So it was like the January 29th is when gold had its peak of this year, and then it just started tanking. We had like a 10% decrease in a day, I think, at that time. And then, we had a nice little move upward, right? We went from, let's see here. We went from $2,300 in January 29th of this year. We went from 5,300 to the next day it was at 4,700. So that's a nice trend you can see going down. But then by the next week it had started to recover, but it's never fully recovered from the height of January 2029. So a lot of people, a lot of institutions, because this wasn't just selling in the United States. You have the banking institutions, the central banks of the world, that have been buying up this gold. That's the reason why the gold took off on a nice tear upward, as it did over the last 2 years. Um, but there were wars and rumors of wars, right? At this time, you had like what was going on in Venezuela, and then what happened in Iran, which we haven't gotten out of since. There was the trend, right? So after 20 January of 2029, it bottoms out to 4,600, and then it goes up all the way into the start of this Iran war, which would have been February 28th was when it was started, which was the weekend. It was on Friday, I believe. Friday afternoon, evening after the markets closed, I think was when the war started. By Monday, that whenever it opened, it was at 5,300, and it has not seen that high since, over the last several months since that date of March. So when we go again to where we are, or where we were over the last 2 months, June and July, gold had gone down to about $4,000, and it was moving upward and down. And it kind of has since consolidated over the last 2 months, where gold has not really gone down any lower from the $4,000 mark. And now it is starting to move slowly. Well, not even slowly, but it is starting to move upward. And we're starting to have the higher highs than what we had over the last month, right? So, and, and the we're looking to see if we're going to have higher highs and higher lows, because over the last 6 months or so, since gold has gone down, it once it hit its peak in January, we've had lower highs and we've had lower lows. So right now we're looking to see if gold has consolidated at this floor of $4,000, and we're looking to see if it's going to make a trend upward over the next few months to end out the year. So we look at we've obviously passed the 6 months of this year, right? So we're at the second half of this year. We're getting pretty well into the second half of this year, and so we're looking to see if gold is going to actually make a nice trend upward, and continue that trend upward, or if it's going to go down. But a lot of people are saying that obviously we know gold is important, and the central banks, right, the banks of the world are the ones who are accumulating the gold at this time, along with the retail investors, right, the average person and the other financial institutions. Um, and in fact, the financial side of things, the investment companies, a lot of them over the last year started to actually advise people on having gold in their portfolio, which is something that they hadn't done for over 40 years or so. Now, this is not investment advice, but this is just giving information based off of what's going on. And again, we've seen the upward trend over the last 2, 3 years of gold, and over the last year, gold really took off. And we're trying to see to make sure gold has actually found its floor, right? Or if it's going to take a lower move down. But the reason why we're looking to expect gold to go up is because obviously, um, the central banks have to continue to buy them. And also, there's a lot of volatility in the markets. And so, we're looking to see how gold does and where it's going to go from here. All right. And on our next video, we're going to look at the silver prices, right? If you give me some time, I will see you on the next live. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.